From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, nobody's having fun, but does Florida State need to start having fun so that the wins start happening? A callback to 2021 is the defense still trying to actually figure out who they can rely on when it comes to throwing out the best 11 on the field. And quarterback, is the job open heading into the Memphis game? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code Corey Clark.
Warchant BOGO.
Get some, everybody. Literally, go get some. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WarChampBOGO. Buy one, get one free. Clinically tested, clinically proven. Number one pre-workout shot on the market, some say. Says on the package there, they wouldn't lie to you. Vitamin Energy Workout Plus, 260 milligrams, all-natural caffeine. Sour apple taste, sour apple flavor. L-citrulline, beta-alanine, arginine, carnitine. Things that'll all be located in your run-of-the-mill pre-workout mixes out there that are, sugary, and you have to carry the powder, and it makes a mess when you try to mix it in the water. Why do that when you can just get a 2-ounce bottle of Vitamin Energy? VitaminEnergy.com, everybody. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Shout out to the people that keep hitting the thumbs up every single day out there. Thousands of people watching this on YouTube, just a cartoon image of Corey Clark and myself. Thousands. Hundreds hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate those hundreds. Let's maybe make it 1,000 one time. That'd be cool. Corey, how are you first off?
Great. Thanks for asking.
Okay.
Secondly? Let's go.
Have you identified anything in your day-to-day that might be contributing to Florida State's losing streak so far? I know you're a little stitious.
Yeah.
Are you going to change anything up this week as Memphis comes to town, high noon, Doak Campbell Stadium Saturday?
Normally I would. I don't think anything's my fault this time. So no.
No accountability. Okay.
No accountability at all. No, I don't think I'm going to change anything. Are you changing something?
I had a mustache and they lost the game, so I shaved the mustache and they lost the next game.
If they lose this next game, if they lose to Memphis, I'm shaving the goatee.
No.
Yep. It'll grow back, but it's a little unruly anyway.
Okay.
I'm going to shave it and let it grow back on its own.
All right. We'll be at practice later this morning. Observations and such might not be as robust as usual, but we'll be out of practice. Video, footage, tweets of guys running up to practice, clips, interviews afterwards. But we did have the Monday press conference yesterday, Corey. We had Mike Norvell, Adam Fuller, John Papuchis. I guess let's start with the head man in charge, Mike Norvell. When is he going to make it on Coach Speak? I've not yet seen an episode of Coach Speak, but it's my understanding that Mike Norvell has not been featured yet on Coach Speak. I feel like Monday I don't know if there was plenty or was there nothing in there that would make it onto the Coach Speak circuit.
No, I don't. Again, trust me, especially if they keep losing, he's a prime candidate. But yeah, there was nothing that caught my ear that's like, yeah, that's crazy. Like we usually just make fun of the craziness, or we make fun of Dave Aranda at Baylor for just the way he talks. I don't know that there's anything yet. Well, our staples honestly are Gundy at Oklahoma State.
He came with it on Monday.
He sure did. Gundy, Shane Beamer, who's probably going to be intolerable since they actually won a game against Kentucky, and Aranda. Those are the main three we go with. They're almost three every week guys. After that, we mix it up. But yeah, nothing. He doesn't speak. He's kind of in Napier too. He doesn't speak in a way that lends itself to really making fun of it, unless you got some candidates.
No, but it's like 25 minutes, and again, I'm not trying to pick on the guy here, and I have faith in the dude to turn it around. I was late to the party and believing in him. I'll be late to the party and throwing him off the wagon and what have you. But again, I don't know what he could say, but it just feels like we're just talking about a lot of words. We're using lots of words. And I don't know what the plan of action is. Not that I would imagine he's going to give us the recipe for what's going to beat Memphis, but I don't know was there anything you took away from it? The only thing that caught my ear was there was a moment I think in his opening statement where he mentioned, listen, I gave the guys days off so they come back with clear, eyes and clear bodies, or clear minds and clear bodies. And then he actually did say something about outside noise. And then he quickly kind of pivoted and talked about, there's distractions out there if you want to let them be distractions. And I've never seen him be a guy that pays attention to outside noise. And the fact that he kind of gave it some credence kind of caught my ear. I don't know really what it's going to mean. That maybe everyone's reading their clippings. Maybe that's going to piss everybody off, or maybe it's going to get everybody else a little bit more down on the state of situation right now.
See, I wouldn't characterize it as him saying outside noise. He said on the outside, and then, like you said, caught himself. Because I wrote about that last week. Like, he started to do it last week after the Thursday practice. He's like, when you're 0-2, there's going to be all this outside. And then he literally caught it, and I wrote about it, like how smart it was of him. Don't come here now after 2 losses and start critiquing the fan base for being upset. You know what I mean? That is not the route to take, and he's smart enough to know that. So he did on last week kind of correct himself, and as soon as he started saying outside, he's like, but it's from inside too. Like, we're an 0-2 football team. So there's inner thoughts that get in your head and all that stuff. So he really brought it back inside the locker room, because that is the first sign that things are off the rails, is when coaches start criticizing. Essentially, this isn't how it would be worded, but coaches start criticizing the fans and media for having expectations. Like, can't do that. Don't do that. Not after 2 losses. Not ever, really, because it makes you look like Napier, and that's what I said. It's like you don't judge. Don't say there's all this outside noise, and I know for a fact he didn't say noise, because that would have really piqued my interest. Because, man, no, the noise is that the noise comes from the scoreboard, well, from the DJ, but then also the scoreboard where you're losing these games. That's the noise you need to be worried about. And he understands there's negativity around this program right now. But he also understands there was a whole lot of positivity last year when you're winning games. That's life, baby. That's fandom, and that's sports. That's how it all works. So no, but what I did find interesting is that he said multiple times, and this could be something you roll your eyes at, but talking about playing fun and how tight they've been. And I do think that was something that needed to be addressed, and I'm glad he addressed it, because obviously you have more fun when you're playing well and winning. But gosh darn, they looked tight as all get out on Monday against Boston College. They looked great, not Monday like yesterday. I'm talking about 8 days ago. Right. They looked tight against Boston College. They really looked tight against Georgia Tech, but they absolutely just looked shaky tight against Boston College, and Boston College was the one that seemed to be playing carefree. Now, a lot of that has to do with confidence in the quarterback, and there is none on this football team right now. But man, they don't play. He said, and Fuller said the same thing, like, or maybe Norvell said it, like, let it loose, cut it loose.
Norvell said that.
Yeah, he kept saying cut it loose. Like, yeah, man, they're just so hesitant in everything they do, and they're not just flying around. I wouldn't mind flying around in the wrong direction occasionally, but they don't fly around to anything. And I do think that's something he's obviously noticed when he watched those 2 games. It is a tight football team that does not seem to be playing carefree and fast.
Yeah, I like the way that sounds, but he's not a coach that lets these guys have, freedom and freelancing. I mean, not that he's saying go out there and freelancing and deviate off the script, but there's nothing about the way he prepares and the way he holds these guys accountable at practice that makes me think, yeah, man, he's this is totally like a let's just have fun out there and let it rip and see what happens and where the chips fall. So I wonder how he's going to be able to walk that kind of balance. Telling us this, obviously, but then the coaching the way that he's been coaching his whole career here.
You remember, what was it? Was it 17 years ago now when Georgia beat Florida and Mark Richt had told them before the game,
after the first
touchdown, I want an unsportsmanlike penalty. Yeah. He didn't specify it, but he's like, I want an unsportsmanlike penalty after we take this ball and go down and score. And the whole team ran out on the field and danced.
Yep.
I think Norvell would like to see a little bit of that. Like, you had guys last year with Deloach and Verse, obviously, and Bethune. When they'd hit you, they'd let you know about it. Yep. They were angry when they were done with you, and they were laughing at you. And you had wide receivers and running backs, and Jordan Travis too, that just had a cockiness, a cocksuredness about them. That might be a word. That this team hasn't earned yet, but it's that chicken or the egg thing. Do you play better when you're cocky, or are you cocky because you're playing better? Like, sometimes people need that. Teams need that. Teams just need to feed off that. And we go back to, the game flipped obviously in the second half, but that hit that Bethune had on Jaden Daniels in the first half against LSU last year. LSU was marching up and down the field like they did to everyone, it turned out. And then Jaden Daniels, for some reason, just leaps over the line like he's in a 7-on-7 drill, and Bethune plants him. And it just felt like the game kind of shifted and turned a little bit on that. There's nothing that you hear. So there's nothing you've seen through 2 games where this team is the more physical one. They're the faster one. They obviously are faster than Boston College, right? But they don't play faster. They didn't play faster. So what's the disconnect there? Where is that coming from that they look so like a half second, a full second behind on every play? Like it's like they don't trust what they're seeing. And I think that's maybe, I don't know if you simplify it, I don't know what you do. And yes, you're right. It's not like Norvell is like a carefree person necessarily, but I think he does see what we all see. That's a tight football team, led by a tight quarterback with no confidence. But that's got to change. It's got to change. You can't play football like that, and he's understanding that. I don't know what that means. Every team's different, right? Like you can be Mike Norvell, kind of straight-laced, tight guy when you have great players like Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman because they're going to do their thing anyway. But maybe when you don't have that upper echelon leadership and you're the leader, maybe they're feeding off you a little bit. And so I don't know how you change that as a head coach. But I did think it was interesting that he mentioned multiple times to go play fun. Like college football, the games are supposed to be fun. And we'll see what that looks like on Saturday. Maybe more dancing.
Bring it back.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of opportunities.
I was trying to do some sort of techno beat. That wasn't it. That sounded like I passed gas. We asked Adam Fuller about that. I wish I had the soundbite queued up, and I don't. I've got some of the transcription that you were able to hack out on Monday. But
he's very tough to transcribe.
Yeah,
he's Jimbo Fisher tough to transcribe, honestly. In a different way. I don't know why. Maybe it's the accent. He doesn't speak as fast as Jimbo, but he stops and starts a little bit. It's just tough if you're trying to get a verbatim transcript. That's a little tough.
Yeah, I think somebody brought up what Cam Riley and DJ had said after the game on last Monday night.
Correct.
And he was about playing maybe too tight or trying to not playing too hard. And like he's like, I don't. It's not real. So I don't know how to process when your head coach is like, yeah, man, like we're all the good intentions, and we're trying a little too hard. We're pressing here and there. And then your head coach and then your defensive coordinator is like, he's like, I understand what they're saying and I respect what they're saying. He's like, but that to me is not real. And I forgot what he pivoted and went towards. But it said, I guess right here, it says trying too hard isn't real in his mind. It says one bad play can turn into 3 or 4 because of overcorrecting the second and third time. Yeah,
so he was talking specifically, I think, about, we could turn it to the wheel routes, the rail routes, as D-Rob calls them, or as they're called. They didn't get out there the first or second time. And it's like, well, they didn't really get burned by trying too hard to get out there. I don't – that's just kind of falling back on that's player speak. Heck, we could have a show called that too. But that they'll do that a lot. They won't just say we're not good enough or we didn't get the game plan well enough. They'll say we're trying too hard. But I do think when you watch that D-Rob film again, there are times when guys are going out of position to go try to make a play that's not their play. They're supposed to be in a gap. And they're supposed to be – their presence in the gap affects what the running back or the quarterback or whoever running the ball is going to do. But when they think the play is going somewhere else, so they leave that gap, well, then it's exposed. And that's not smart football, but it's not lazy. You wouldn't say the kid was lazy for not being there. You could say in that instance they were trying too hard to go make a play. And I do think so. And I think when it comes to pressing, it can be not like – I'm going to run really fast to get to the spot. It's like, dang it, where am I supposed to be? Let me think about this. I don't want to make a false step. Oh, no, there he goes for 30 yards. Because you're thinking too much about making the right play instead of just reacting because you're not trusting what you've been coached. And again, this all falls at the feet of the head coach and the defensive coordinator. On defense, it falls at the feet of Adam Fuller and the position coaches. Like, if they don't trust what they've been taught, if they don't trust their reads and their reaction, well, that's on you at some point. Get somebody in there that does trust it and that will go fire and make a play. But I think that can be what's being referred to as trying too hard, is like really overthinking it instead of just going and playing. Maybe.
What's not trying too hard and overthinking it is that it's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. It's hard or soft shell, beef or chicken tacos.
I was wondering where you were going with that. I thought it was a little early for Corner Pocket, but I like it, Aslan.
Yeah, that's what's going down tonight at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Get fueled up before trivia starts at 7 o'clock. Win cash money prizes. Is it cash money prize on trivia night, or is it house cash?
House cash. You get 40 for first, 30 for second, and 20 for third, I think. And you just get to have great fun. You just get to have great fun.
That's a lot of lunch specials, $40, because they're only $8.99 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, Taco Tuesday, hard or soft shell, beef or chicken tacos. What'd you say, live music going down this weekend? Tom and the Cats, triumphant return, 24/7 Appalachian Parkway?
Tom and the Cats on Friday night, right after Corey and Jeff. You're allowed to make an appearance. I think I'm going to take some vitamin energy up there, Aslan. What do you think about that? That's a smart play, right?
I was about to say, didn't they made a big delivery?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So I want to give some. I'm not going to give them a lot of free samples. Go buy some, but I want to give people, just a taste, just to see, just to get them on board.
Get the hook on them, as the florist says in the town.
That's right.
Not that.
She doped up real good and nice, or whatever he says. Good and proper.
Oh, we just made Corner Pocket and Vitamin Energy upset in one single read. That's a record. CPTallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachian Parkway, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Going back to the D-Rob stuff, Corey, a lot of stuff that him and Tom pointed out was just the lack of proper communication, seemingly, like somebody pointing out a check, but the check not maybe being received, like that communication not being received. And Adam Fuller talked about, this goes back to practice and we have to, get things sorted out in that way. But he said there has to also be a listener too, and it needs to be acknowledged. And I hope that's something they certainly have stressed, because that has to be extremely frustrating for not only the coaching staff, but the player that's making the checks. Like if DJ's actually saying the right stuff, like, hey, cover the boundary, or the back's yours now, and he lets off of that and he's trusting his teammate to pick that assignment up and they don't, and that's where you start. I can start buying into you're trying too hard and you're trying to make plays that aren't there, because I told you 2 plays ago to do this and you didn't do it, so I have to put matters into my own hands now.
Yeah, and I think when you go watch that D-Rob thing, and again, if you didn't listen to yesterday's show, Dominic Robinson, who played at Florida State from 01 to 04 maybe, 2000 to 03, I don't remember, but he played offense and defense, had a big catch right before PK Sam in the swamp, also played DB. He broke down the communication problems that are going on with the Florida State defense, and I thought the guy that came off looking the best, that I hope people understand looked the best, because there aren't many, is Shaheem. Shaheem is the one, and Dominic keeps saying, look at one here. One is telling 12, this you've got out in the flat, you've got the boundary, you've got out in the flat, or the field, you've got out there towards the sideline. And he's saying, look at 12. 12 doesn't he looks over him, but he doesn't acknowledge him at all. And then when the play starts, he still doesn't know where he's supposed to be. Shaheem told him where to be. Shaheem also did it with Fintrell. And Fintrell apparently covered the wrong guy, and that's how Trayshawn got out. Like, he was telling, I think it was Fintrell, right? He was telling Fintrell,
on the touchdown, on the touchdown, it was.
He's like, you stay outside, I'll take your receiver, because he's pointing at Ward, like Ward is going to go out in the flat. And then Fintrell, of course, went with the receiver, kind of knocked Shaheem away from Trayshawn Ward, and he couldn't get there in time, and it was a touchdown. So Shaheem, to me, right now, I don't think we know who wears the blue dot. I would assume it's the green dot. Sorry, they should have all color dots. But Shaheem is the one that is communicating. But clearly on those plays anyway. And look, they didn't give up 100 points. No. Boston College had a few 3-and-outs. Like, they did get some stuff right as the game went on. But there were big communication issues where Cassianos was able to hit layups. And he was able to hit layups because of guys just not being anywhere in the picture. And Shaheem knows what's supposed to be done. But that other safety so far through 2 games has been dismal. It's just been going from Akeem Dent to what they played through these first 2 games is one of the bigger drop-offs on the entire team. I mean, there's no experience over there. There's no confidence. There's no playmaking. That has been a position that we wondered about, and we were right to wonder about it. But Shaheem, I know people want to say that he's not any good or he hasn't done this or that. He is at least trying to quarterback the defense. He seems to know what people are supposed to be doing, but then it's not being done. And the question is, as you said, I think you asked him maybe, like, how do you communicate? And he said, look, you've got to be clear, concise, and quick. But also, as you said, there has to be a listener. And, that's the most important thing. Anybody can just, you can really listen and know what the person is saying instead of there's not even an acknowledge that you're getting the message. And there were multiple times on film where it was clear the message wasn't being delivered, and it led to wide open running backs running for 30 yards or a touchdown.
Were you surprised when Adam Fuller said that he thought the defensive line played better? So he said they're not playing good enough, but he thought they actually played better up the middle.
Yes,
Boston College.
No, I wasn't, because they did. I thought that Farmer and Jackson, Jackson's getting double teamed a ton, and I thought they were more physical. It wasn't the way Boston College ran the ball. It wasn't just let's push these guys out of the way and run it down their throats. Again, the quarterback matters. He had 70 yards. Trayshawn had a couple of big runs where he got outside, but up the middle, using counter, I did think they were better. I did. I thought they were better. They're not great. They weren't dominant, but compared to what Georgia Tech did to them for a majority of that game, including the last drive of the game, I thought they made a step. Not a big enough step, but they made a step. The problem is, and they won't say it, look, man, I don't know how many tackles Fabian Lovett had last year. I don't know how many tackles Braden Fisk had last year through the first 6 games. It wasn't like he was a wrecking ball. But he would engage blockers, move them off the spot, and then your pretty good linebackers would come and fill and make plays, and that's just not happening. And so I think the physicality was better. My problem has been the defensive ends, especially against the run, and the linebackers and the safeties really. Just they have not brought any real physicality to this thing at all. They are not flying around and making plays in any real sense. The middle of the line, it's fine. It's not horrible. It's not incredible. It's been fine. It's sadly the last game, it was been fine. Everything else to me has been a disappointment. But as Papucha said, when you watch some of this film and you see Peyton really getting pushed inside, he did point out sometimes that's the job of the defensive end. You're supposed to spill inside, take up the blocker, and then his gap is supposed to be filled by a linebacker who sometimes isn't there or gets pushed out of the way.
One of the other things that I like to kind of hear from, from Fuller was that he was talking about, he said we played a lot of guys, and I think you asked him going into the season, how many guys he thought he would be able to play, 19 to 20. He's like, yeah, we're probably around there, and I don't know how many they end up playing in those first few weeks last season, but he did say that they're still trying to figure out the right combination of guys, and that felt eerily familiar to 2021 when those first 4 games of the season, I mean, they still were having Travis Jay starting and playing lots of reps before, Jamie Robinson, I think, settled into where he ended up settling in, and then Akeem started kind of, getting his feet under him playing safety. So I wonder how much of that is kind of growing pains they did not want to have to go through in the middle of a season, but maybe there is some kind of light at the end of the tunnel in terms of, maybe these 2 games and a bye week has got them a little bit closer to knowing who they can trust out there. I feel like Cam Riley's one of those guys, at least when it comes to linebacker, because they keep kind of getting picked on. Do you think, was that something that, has some credence, you think, right there, where maybe they misjudged who they're going to be able to count on at this point in the season? They are trying to figure out who it's going to be right now.
Well, I mean, he was asked about Nicholson and Cryer, and he was basically said, like, look, they just need more reps. They need more experience, and that's the truth. I mean, there are very, very few redshirt freshman linebackers that are just great right on the jump, or freshman linebackers. You need experience to get better. Tatum Bethune in 2021, I know he wasn't here, or 2020, wasn't Tatum Bethune in 2023, and we damn sure know Kalen DeLoach wasn't. Kalen DeLoach got better the more he played. That's just the sport, and I think that's really that position too. Especially it's like quarterback in the sense you're used to seeing everything. You get used to seeing everything. Yeah, I think Cam Riley's been okay. He's certainly not great, but none of the linebackers have been good enough, and it's not close. It's not close to good enough. But I just keep coming back to, it's not as if it's not as if Boston College is blessed with better, more physically gifted linebackers than Florida State. I just can't I can't say that. I can't say that Georgia Tech has better linebackers, physically gifted linebackers than Florida State. So what is going on where they look like they're a step slow in these other teams that aren't as athletic? Blake Nicholson can run, folks. Justin Cryer can run. Cam Riley, one of the most impressive plays, and there have not been many for the defense so far through 2 games, was a rollout by Castellanos. It was in the first half, I think, when they got to stop. It was like 3rd and 9. He tried to scramble for a first down. Marvin Jones runs almost stride for stride with him to make him really have to go outside. And as he gets outside, Cam Riley is running stride for stride with him and knocks him out. Castellanos is like a 4-4 guy. Like, he is a legit burner. And those 2 guys were almost running stride for stride with him. So the athleticism is there. It's just not manifesting into like plays and tackles, but it's there. So you just hope that can be figured out. And these guys, because there is some real talent, I think. There's some physical gifts anyway. That they just look slow and unphysical through 2 games, and they look like they get pushed around. They look, frankly, a little bit soft. And I do not say that lightly, because I'm a 160-pound, almost 50-year-old man. I am not going to call those athletes soft. I do not mean that they are soft people or even soft football players. But when you watch that defense through 2 games, they have gotten pushed around. They are not the more physical team. They are not the more aggressive team. And that would be cool if that changed. I'm still really disappointed in that other safety position. And I think if you look back, maybe a misstep.
They didn't KJ Bolin go to Georgia?
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there, Aslan. What were they doing there? No, KJ Bolden would have been an upgrade. But, like, if you're going to go get somebody, if you're going to go get another defensive back or 2 that are transfers, either get players that are better than Earl Little and Devontae Brown that can play for you immediately, or see if Earl Little can be a safety. Like, they're the ones that made him a nickel, and then he can't beat out Kevin Noles for the nickel spot. So it's like, all right, well then – you brought in this 5-star former Alabama player
that you coached in high school, Patrick Surtain. I'm not trying to pick on him, but it's like
right.
Surtain knows who he is, and Randy Shan knows who Devontae Brown is.
Right.
And they brought both these guys in, and neither of them are playing anywhere, I'm sure, to where they expected.
Yeah, in Earl Little, I mean, look, man, we watched you didn't hear anybody, I hope you didn't hear anybody on this show talk about had high expectations for Earl Little after August. Like, he did not look like –
That was my mulligan, by the way, Corey. Yours was Josh Farmer on the interior of the defensive line. Mine was like Earl Little as nickel.
Yeah, because I wasn't even sure he'd start.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't, at least – and I don't think he has. Maybe he did. I think Noles started. But, like, he couldn't beat out – Kevin Noles was the better nickel than Earl Little. And it's like, man, is this Earl Little's best chance to help your football team is to try to cover a 5'10", 185-pound wide receiver? Is that a good idea? Is that his best role? No. Or could he have been a safety? Could you have turned him into a safety? Either way, we're through 2 games into it. And you can't question they made so many good decisions over the last few years. It's not really fair to just pick apart these decisions 2 games into a season. But it is fair in November. So we'll revisit those. But, I just that other safety spot has been – frankly, abysmal. It's been abysmal through 2 games. Hussey wasn't any better. Devontae Brown wasn't good at all. So I don't know how that gets better. Maybe Hussey just gets reps and gets better, but that has not been a feather in the cap of the defensive backfield, that other safety spot. And who knows with the corners?
Right.
I mean, we'll know more this weekend, right? But as you pointed out, what have there been 30 dropbacks? There have been 20 completions, 31 pass attempts in 2 games. So it's hard to even know how good these corners are or have been because they haven't been tested yet.
That's something I'm a little bit anxious about is hearing the way that Adam Fuller talked, and it's getting the run defense fixed, quote unquote. I would think is like the number 1 priority. But you're finally going up against a team here where they've had 60 pass attempts in their first 2 games, Memphis, where maybe they're not going to be such a run-reliant team. And I'm sure they're looking at what Georgia Tech and Boston College did and maybe feel good about. Maybe we can do some run stuff, but I don't think that's their identity. So this is going to be an interesting matchup in terms of, like, maybe Florida State will fix some of their run game deficiencies, but we don't know we really have no idea what sort of secondary they have. I mean, we like Azaria, we like Shaheem, we like Fentrell. It feels like maybe some of the bloom is coming off Fentrell again. Like, his stock keeps kind of going up and down. So I'm a little bit concerned, like, all right, maybe they finally will be able to stymie a run attack, but then you've got a quarterback that seemingly knows exactly where to go when they run RPO. And they seem to be a much more simple kind of straightforward attack where they're not going to try to confuse Florida State with a lot of pre-snap motion and stuff, Corey, but they're going to do the whole mesh where they're holding it there, and if you crash down, he's going to pull it and he's going to throw it for like a 10-yard slant and try to keep the play going on. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to flesh out for the defense, because I think they're really trying to clean up the run defense, but it might be all for naught, at least this week.
Here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see them because Fuller kept talking about this, because they have been on third downs. And it's true, all third downs aren't created equal. 3rd and 2 is different than 3rd and 11. They're not getting teams in enough 3rd and longs. Like the one I just talked about where they ran Castellanos out of bounds. Well, that was like a 3rd and long. If that was a 3rd and 2, he got enough yards for a first down. So if you can win 1st and 2nd down and you get them in a 3rd and 9, you like your chances. And this is the time. This is the game. This is the put up or shut up time for 11 and 7. Like they have not. It has not been ideal these first 2 games. That has not been a good matchup for those 2 guys. They have been gone against big, strong, physical offensive lines that are more inclined to run the ball, and they've gone up against quarterbacks that you can't just rush wildly at because you open up a running lane where he can rip off a 25 or 30-yard run. This is different. I know the Memphis kid's athletic enough, but he ain't Haynes King or Castellanos, man. This is a different level of guy. Yeah. So go have an impact. I have not given up on 7 at all. I have not. But this is the time to go show what you are, because you are going to have at bats. I mean, you think about how many like straight drop back passes have they faced where a kid's gotten to like his 3rd or 4th progression. Even the throws that have been attempted against Florida State, for the most part, have been like roll out to your right. Yeah. It's timing, or it's just the first read is wide the F open. So they haven't had a chance to have to go to their 2nd or 3rd read, and they haven't had a lot of 3rd and 12s. So and even if it was a 3rd and 12, the other team would throw like a little quick screen or something. This is more of a traditional offense that you'll see moving forward, and it is a really good chance for those 2 defensive ends to join the season, to join the season and start making plays. And also, I would like to see this, and I have not seen it all. I haven't been to practice in like 3 weeks because out of the country and all that good stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing Daniel Lyons in more on 3rd and long if you get him into 3rd and long. Also, wouldn't mind seeing Lola Hea in the inside on 3rd and long. Oh, okay. Get you some pass rushers, man. I love Farmer. I don't love Farmer and love Jackson. I like those guys, but they can push guys up towards the quarterback. But I want guys on 3rd and long that can go get to the quarterback. And when you have 620 pounds in the middle there, you feel pretty confident if you're the offense. Those 2 guys aren't going to get a sack. So because that's not really their strength. They're not pass rushing defensive tackles necessarily. So maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, so we'll see how the defensive ends look against a quote unquote more traditional offense, or at least a quarterback that doesn't frighten you with his legs, that you can actually give a real rush against.
I like what Papucha said when he told us that the philosophy in that room on that defense is you have to earn the right to rush the passer. Which means like they've got us, and Fuller said it as well. He's like, we need to start winning 1st and 2nd down, because as bad as 3rd down has been, it's been some really 3rd and shorts. Which win 1st and 2nd down, make it 3rd and 7 more often, make it 3rd and medium is the best that they're going to get. Not these really easily convertible sort of situations. So and it feels like Seth Hannigan and the way this Memphis team is kind of set up is probably going to give them plenty of opportunities to get after the quarterback. And they've got some transfers on their offensive line, and they're kind of trying to mesh. This is a good opportunity for Florida State to win 1st and 2nd down, get some negative plays, and then create some maybe even turnovers. Let's get some sack fumbles, things like that.
You know, one of the plays, and there just haven't been many. There haven't been a lot of game pressure, third and long plays where the quarterback so far through 2 games, like we talked about, has had to scan the field, make a tight throw down the field. But one of the bigger plays of the season so far, we've talked about it, was I think it was the second half. It was a third and long, and Haynes King makes a great throw on like third and it was after the fumble that Florida State should have recovered and didn't. And it was like I think it was 2nd and 18, and it turned into 3rd and 12. And he makes a great throw to a guy that was not open as he's getting hit by both Marvin Jones and Patrick Payton. So, again, this is not exactly a glass half full kind of show. It hasn't been for a couple of weeks now. It's not a silver lining type show necessarily, although I'm trying to find some. That is one of the few times this year where it's been a big pressure moment, third and long, game pressure, big time moment in the game. And your 2 defensive ends did get there. They did get there very quickly. The kid just made a great throw. Now the counter to that is, how about getting there a half step earlier and strip sacking them? That'd be nice. That's allowed. I see it all over the country. But it was, when I keep going back to that in that play where they knew they were throwing, they knew it wasn't going to be a screen, they knew Haynes King was probably not going to scramble, those 2 dudes came off the edge and got there pretty darn quickly against a good offensive line, just not quickly enough. So, again, maybe more at-bats, more chances against not Cassianos and not Haynes King. These guys can go impact the game. Go impact the game. Yeah. I'm not giving up on you, Marvin. I'm not giving up on you, buddy. I'm not giving up on you. But I was thinking about this, Aslan, because I was watching the Rams Sunday night, and Verse and Fisk played a ton. They each played over 40 snaps, and Verse got his first career sack. So congratulations. And that's a heck of an offense, and that's a really good offensive line. That's probably the best offensive line in the sport. So that's a welcome to the NFL for both those guys. But I said this before the season started, and I clearly stand by it now. I do think that Patrick Payton is an NFL player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We have no idea about Marvin. He certainly will have the measurables, and I think he's got the athleticism. He's got to put it on the field. And this is going to sound like a shot. I don't mean it to sound like a shot. But there is such a big difference between an NFL player that is a Jared Verse and an NFL player that is a Janarius Robinson.
Right.
There just is, or a Kendo. Good enough players, solid players. They both play in the league or played in the league. They both were drafted. But there's just a difference, man. And that right now through 2 games, it feels like, and I know people might be saying they would kill to get Robinson and Kendo back. Let's let the season play out. But through 2 games, it's not special at all through either one of those guys. They just haven't made plays, and they're supposed to be playmakers. And so, okay, now you got 10 games left. Is it going to look more like Verse Jermaine Johnson type impact? Or is it going to be Kendo, Janarius Robinson, throw in somebody else? Josh Sweat even. Josh Sweat's not fair. What a great career that kid's had, by the way. He's still playing. But the fact that he was hurt, he was still pretty banged up when he was at Florida State, and his career didn't really take off and get off the ground. But, that's what I was wondering about. They certainly are going to be NFL. I think all 4 of those guys are probably going to be in the NFL, but are they going to be, 4th and 6th round picks, or are they going to be 1st and 2nd round picks? Because that's the difference between wins and losses, man. There's a lot of 5th round defensive linemen out there. There's not a lot of 1st and 2nd round defensive linemen out there. You saw the impact those types of dudes had on a season last year when you lost your quarterback and they just won games. Almost double-handedly, those 2 dudes, 5 and 55. So, again, not giving up on these defensive linemen yet. It's been a bad start. Hopefully, we'll see some big-time improvement and start thinking about what McShay and Kuiper are going to say about these guys after Saturday.
I'm relatively sure if Adam Smith, the father of economics, was with us today, he would be a fan of Manscaped. Smith, as you all remember, argued things like the invisible hand and, more importantly, specialization, saying that companies are going to grow, hires are going to be made, and they should have defined roles and specialize in one skill. So yeah, you've got some clippers, but they have a role. Manscaped has a more specialized place in a man's grooming arsenal. Some might say a more delicate role, one involving the moneymaker, to bring it back to Adam Smith and economics. How about the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra? It features skin-safe blades and a cordless design, which is kind of clutch. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code WARCHANT at manscaped.com. 20% discount, free shipping. Manscaped.com. Be him and trim. Some newsy stuff did come out of the press conference on Monday. You know, Coach Norvell said that there won't be any wholesale changes, but they're going to seemingly call up, if you will, Mekhi Danzy from the practice squad almost, scout team to help fill in the shoes of Jaylin Lucas, who apparently was injured in the game against Boston College and is out for the entire season.
I wonder when that – do you remember when that happened? Did it happen on his catch and run down to the 5?
Somebody was saying it happened on a misthrow. I think he might have been trying to he was running after an overthrow and kind of pulled up lame after it. I don't recall it. I haven't gone back and looked at the film on it. But
people are just going to blame DJ for everything. He's getting the running backs hurt now. Come on, guys.
No real bright spots on the offense, to be honest. I guess we can say Kentron and the way he played in the second half against Boston College. But Jaylin, for whatever, the lack of reps was a bit mystifying in some ways. But it felt like you had something there that was tangible and you probably would be able to use throughout the season and have great success with. And now that's off the table. That hurts for an offense that needs all the help it can get right now.
Yeah, now it doesn't. It's not awful in the sense that what do you have 7 plays in the Georgia Tech game when he was healthy? So it's not like you're losing a guy that had produced. Well, who has? Good point. Nobody's produced through 2 games really. And you do have Mekhi Danzy, who is not Jaylin Lucas like jitterbug quick necessarily, but he's faster because he's probably the fastest kid on the team. And, yeah, he had been running scout mostly, as Mike Norvell had said on Monday, but he's now up and he's going to be maybe part of the rotation, part of the plan. I just think, look, Cam Davis, fine. He's going to be – I think he has a chance to be a really good running back. He's a bruiser, right? Keziah Holmes, kind of a bruiser. Toafili, Roydell, a bruiser. Toafili's a playmaker that you just, apparently don't hand the ball to. And then there's Singleton. Well, I think Danzy's upside in that just speed is something that can translate on Saturdays very quickly. Just a package or two. I think he could maybe fill that Jaylin Lucas role pretty well, especially because, it's not like you're asking him to be on the field for 30 plays a game. That is a bummer, though. I think you guys saw what we saw from that kid in the first 2 games. He just didn't get the ball. He got the ball in the first drive of the season. They scored a touchdown. He caught a 30-yard pass that got him down to the 5 where they sort of scored another touchdown. Other than that, they didn't really make him much of a factor, and I thought he was going to be an X factor this season, which is just bizarre, but, it is what it is. That said, bad news on that front, and you hope he gets better, but Hakeem Williams will be back. Norvell basically said as much. He's like he expects him to be full go this week. That'll be interesting. He is not – I don't know, man. When was the last time he went and competed and caught a pass? It's been a minute. But, maybe that's something to look forward to, what that looks like. And what he said I thought that was interesting. I think it was Norvell. Yeah, it must have been. The other 2 guys are defensive guys. About the blocking on the perimeter. Like how much Hakeem can help him there. Yeah. And he ain't wrong. Like Hakeem is a physical guy that could really help them on the perimeter if he's engaged in blocks and blocking guys into the sideline.
Jaylin Lucas, running back, had more first downs receiving than Kyle Morlock, Deuce Spann, and Darion Williamson combined. So.
Well, it's not like – now, look, Morlock, haven't given up on that guy either. Bad game.
He had 2, by the way. Lucas had 2. Morlock's had 1, and Deuce and Darion have not had.
That's not a surprise with those 2 guys, right? But Morlock is. Morlock is.
It's crazy. They only have, as a football team, man, they only have 31 first downs.
Yeah,
in 2 games.
I know, buddy. It's been they have 3 touchdowns, Aslan. They have 3 touchdowns in 2 games. The Syracuse kid threw for 4 by himself. Klubnik threw for 7 the other day, and Florida State has 3 as a team. And I have to remind folks, they did not play Georgia and Iowa back to back. And they have 3 touchdowns. So we can hand-wring about the defense all we want. It's not been good. It has not been physical. It's been a disappointment. The offense has been a catastrophic disappointment through 2 games, and it needs to get rectified very quickly. You got 3 opponents in a row that you feel like you should be able to move the ball against. Also, Cal's a night game.
Yeah.
Got that news on Monday too, buddy.
Yeah. I wonder how they feel about that. I wonder if they prefer to just get these games over at noon so they can get back to the West Coast on time. But, hey, you want to join the ACC, Cal? This is
This is it. This is life in the ACC, baby.
I mean, you did mention, I'm not giving up on Kyle Morlock. I'm not either. I mean, so at this point, Corey, do you put any credence on what you've seen out of practice from these guys that you're still holding on to? What Malik Benson was able to do against Azareye'h Thomas every now and then. They're trading rounds. If those 2 guys were prize fighters, I think it goes to the cards. It goes to the judge's decision. Azareye'h hasn't knocked him out in consecutive days back to back. It was always Malik has a good rep and then Azareye'h has a good rep. So how much are you holding on to the fact these guys can make plays? You've seen Malik make plays. You've seen Kyle Morlock make plays. It wasn't a soundbite from Norvell or DJ. It was us seeing DJ throwing the ball to Morlock in the middle of the field seemingly every other day or every day and getting a big chunk play out of that. So that's why I don't know if I'll be able to pick Memphis when it comes down to it on the Warchant Report later this week. I guess I got one more week in me of being able to get disappointed and hurt before I'll start, throwing everything against the table, flipping my table over. Rather,
I'm going to just keep picking the Vegas line.
Okay.
I think Florida State right now is favored by 7, so I'm just going to pick Florida State 31-24, and I'll just keep doing that until Florida State's underdog, and then I'll pick them to lose. So everybody, don't get mad at me. I'm just going to go with the Vegas line. Yeah, man, I definitely have. I definitely have trust in Morlock. That was a couple of horrible drops. Another couple of catches he could have maybe made that he didn't. But I think we definitely saw enough from that guy in practice to know that he needs a catch to get feeling good about himself again. Confidence is such a big deal, but the tools are there. We've seen it. The tools are there for him to be a weapon in this offense. Certainly more than he was the other day. And I also think with Benson, it's just so hard to judge when you don't have a quarterback that's seeing it real well, or you're not having an offense that schemes you open well. It's hard to judge how well he's playing. I'd like him to, when he makes a catch, to break a tackle. It'd be something that he could do. I see it happen. I promise. I've seen it a lot, actually. But I am certainly not willing to say that he's not what we thought he was going to be, because the QB play has been so bad that it's hard to judge how mediocre the receivers have been or how bad they've been. I don't know. Again, we'll start to figure out more and more. We can say they're not getting open. Yeah, man, they sometimes DBs make good plays, and it's magnified when the quarterback still throws it to you anyway at 100 miles an hour on a 5-yard slant on 3rd down. They read it well, and it was covered well. Maybe Malik was wide open or ran a really good route two plays later, but it wasn't seen, or the quarterback was getting sacked. It's hard to know. I bring this up all the time, but watching Roddy White, and I only say this because I'm a Falcons fan, old-time name for you folks.
Yeah.
Roddy White played at UAB, actually. I think he played in Doak one year. It was good. Watching him go from Michael Vick to Matt Ryan, it was like all of a sudden he became one of the best receivers in the league, because Michael Vick had a lot of strengths. Throwing with anticipation wasn't maybe one of them. And so Roddy White looked like an average receiver where people wanted to get rid of him. They thought he was a bust. He was a first-round pick they wasted. And then lo and behold, there's a quarterback that really sees it well, gets rid of the ball quickly, gets it to you in a good spot, and Roddy White's one of the best receivers in the league. That stuff happens all the time. So, again, let's see what it looks like with hopefully, Aslan, improved quarterback play.
You sound like you want the show to end, which is
I do.
That would have been a good way. But I want to play this on the way out, because we will be at practice today and tomorrow.
You say we, it's the royal we.
Correct.
It's Warchant.
Yes.
Will be at practice, not necessarily Corey Clark.
Correct.
Okay.
We've lost Corey, everybody. He's not coming back until
I ain't ever coming back.
But obviously everybody's going to want to know how DJ's going to look, how Brock's going to look. And Florida State's not alone in this situation where they've got a quarterback who seemingly is doing really well in practice but hasn't been able to carry it over to the field. Hugh Freeze was asked about, the situation he's in with at Auburn. He's got a guy, second-year transfer that he's been with, decided to ride with this guy and just kind of what to do when it comes to a guy that's practicing well but not necessarily playing well. So I wanted to play this and kind of get your thoughts on it, Corey.
It's really hard for me to not play a young man that consistently is the best performer in practice over and over and over and over again, and his execution of the offense, which has been pretty clear to all of us that throughout camp and throughout the practice weeks and everything, his performance and his understanding of what we want to do has been better than the others. And if you do that, then you kind of send a message that practice really doesn't matter.
And that's kind of where I'm at, Corey. I get it, man. I get wanting to see something different. There's a different skill set. Maybe it opens up some new things, but I just wonder, as a coach who prefaces and preaches that the work works, if one guy is working better, I know it's practice. I just wonder how can you push him aside for somebody that's not working as well in practice.
Yeah, I see what I get it too. I've never once lauded Brock Glenn for being the better quarterback in practice. I just think there's that, as you talked about, that athleticism that maybe opens up some things, and it would be an offense change, not necessarily a quarterback change, if that makes sense. Like, you're changing what you do on offense. You are going to run the zone read. You are going to have the quarterback be an actual legitimate running threat. But at the same time, if DJ struggles again and keeps missing wide open receivers, panicky too quick, not seeing it down the field in a game, at some point how they act in a game matters. Now Auburn is 1-1. The kid looked fine in the first game, looked skittish and bad in the second game. If he looks bad again in the third game, or in the fourth game, well then, at some point what you do when it matters with the lights on is going to impact your play. And I would equate it to, we hear all the time when we're covering this baseball team or any baseball team, the guy is he's got nasty stuff. He has lights out. He's got great stuff. Yeah, in a scrimmage. Now, when he's facing Florida on a Tuesday night and he throws 12 balls out of his first 14 pitches, well, you can't just keep running the kid out there. So that it's the same thing. Like, if he can't handle the moment in a game on the stage, practice it almost becomes irrelevant. And so, and again, it's not like, I think the Auburn kid isn't nearly as experienced, I don't think, as DJ, who is.
Close, though. He played a lot of football in Michigan.
Yeah,
State
you're right.
He came
you're right.
Here.
And he wasn't. Yeah, he hasn't had a lot of success either, I guess. But yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Except if the kid continues to not look anything in a game like he does in practice. If you have a jump shooter that hits everything in practice but shoots 21% in games, at some point you're gonna be like, I can't play you, man. Your only job is to shoot. And if you can't make shots when it matters, you got to sit on the bench. We got a lot of guys that can miss shots, but do other things. Like if P.J. Savoy, a name from a few years ago.
I love it, man.
Yeah, man. If he was missing his open threes, well, he has no reason to be on the team if he's doing that. It's not like he's a great defender. He's not a distributor. He's out there solely to shoot and make jump shots. And if he starts missing a lot of jump shots, he becomes unplayable. And if DJ continues to miss layups, if he continues to look rattled and shaken and a lot not sure of himself, then okay, great. He looks perfectly in control on a Wednesday. The games aren't played on a Wednesday, and they're not played in the IPF. And at some point, it's not just making a change to make a change. You'll be making a change because this kid legitimately gives you the best chance to win, because the kid you're playing has given you no chance to win through 2 games.
Listen,
that's all.
If DJ gives you a replay of the first half versus Boston College,
that's a wrap. That's
absolutely,
a wrap.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But I completely anticipate him starting against Memphis.
I do too.
Unless Brock has a really good week of practice. I think Brock with 2 good days, 3 good days, because we won't be able to see the practice that happens on Thursday, I think can take the job away from him. But if he practices the way he did last Friday when we saw them on the bye week, I don't think that's anywhere near the sort of referendum for Norvell to do the change. But yes, man, if they go out there and they've got 2 first downs, 3 first downs in the first half against Memphis, and even if it's a drop ball that killed the drive, man, I do think at that point you can make the change and you have probably a good solid leg or two to stand on.
Well, and it would be great. They could use a road game again. There's a lot of pressure that comes from playing at home for this kid. It really is. It's a different, unique pressure. I think DJ, the team is probably better served for playing in Doak, but DJ would be better served if the game was in Memphis, because there's going to be some noise, right? You talk about outside noise. It's going to be deafening if they go 3 and out a couple of times in the first quarter against Memphis and don't look good. He's going to be booed, honestly. He'll probably be booed the first incompletion he has. That's just the nature of sports now. And when you haven't looked good through 2 games. And I wouldn't say Brock Glenn can go win the job this week in practice. What he could do is get himself in position that if DJ does struggle early, they'll put Brock Glenn in. You know what I mean? I don't think Brock is going to push him aside because he looks good on a Wednesday and a Thursday. But he could get himself into the conversation where if it doesn't look good again in the first half or the first 3 drives on Saturday, they will be like, Brock showed us enough that we trust him. Go in there and get us some points, man. Yeah. I think that's what he could accomplish. Get himself at least ready to be a replacement if it's needed. But it ain't going to be needed. Ain't going to be needed, Aslan. DJU's going to light him up.
There we go. Well said, better said, per usual, Corey. Good stuff. Seminole headlines 1 to 3 o'clock today.
That's right. I won't be in studio, but I'll be there. Well, I'll be there in spirit and on Zoom. Or StreamYard. I guess I'm on StreamYard, yeah. 93.3
FM as well as Warchant TV. That's our YouTube channel from 1 to 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the thumbs up, YouTube folks, if you made it this far. Certainly would appreciate it. We'll be at practice, the Royal We. They'll back at it 9 o'clock in the morning or so check out the Twitter around 8:30. Practice footage up probably around 10 in the morning over on warchant.com and our YouTube channel. Post-practice interviews, maybe a wrap-up, probably not, because Ira's going to have to get to the radio station to do headlines. Maybe we'll do a wrap-up after Wednesday's practice. We'll do 3 more shows for you. We're back to 5 days a week, everybody. It is football season. They're back in America, and they're playing on a Saturday. Hallelujah. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.